Now let's go with Divyabh. Divyabh, how can artificial intelligence help manufacturing companies to succeed after returning from quarantine?
A great question, Alex. In fact, before I get into how AI can help, I think it's important to understand, a couple of completely unavoidable shifts that have happened as a result of the pandemic, and that's creating a need for AI. The first is obviously, having to work remotely because of the safety concerns that everyone talked about. Basically means you have to understand it's not easy to monitor these systems remotely unless you have access to data. And suddenly all of the manufacturing companies are realizing that their lack of investment in good structured data coming from different parts of their manufacturing plant, and these are signals from their machines, their hydraulics, or any of the aspects of the manufacturing plant. If they're not getting the data in a good structured manner, there is no way of really monitoring it. So they suddenly realize that they want to monitor it remotely, but they're not able to. So that's the first challenge. The second is, for a very long time, right, manufacturing has been about efficiency, right? And efficiency leads to primarily reduction in cost. Reduction in cost leads to dependence on China, frankly, right? So primarily on China. Now, that's not bad until you have a black swan event like this one, right? The issue is you can always have, it's a lot easier to control the demand side challenges because you can invest in marketing, you can invest in a whole bunch of things, and you can stimulate demand. Nobody really has any control over supply chains unless they have invested in long term in having all of the pieces in place to handle situations like this. And now if your supply chains are extremely efficient, it means that the moment that efficient supply chain breaks down, you're done. So there is going to be a move towards adaptability, resilience, redundancy. They are counter efficiency. Think about it, right? Redundant, any system that's adaptable requires redundancy, and redundancy is not cheap. But redundancy allows you to handle situations like this. So what I mean by redundancy is being able to figure out where your bottlenecks are in your supply chain, having alternatives, having local alternatives where possible, are all things that manufacturing companies are going to think about. So where does AI come in? Getting to the question that you had, I think AI is going to be applied in two waves, in my view. Okay, the first wave is going to be about structuring this data, building the foundations of getting all of your data in a form that all sorts of predictive quality, like Juan mentioned, early detection of quality issues, any sort of production faults, even preventive maintenance of your entire facilities, maintenance of your products after they have been released. None of that is possible unless you have good structured data, and getting that data foundation in place requires effort. And frankly, there are a lot of interesting, a lot of the developments in AI around deep learning, and I'm sure Jerry would agree with me on this, have been in methods that allow you to structure or label or tag unstructured information in the form of images, in the form of videos, in the form of IoT signals, sensors. For example, a sensor may give you the temperature, but what does that temperature mean depends on the situation and the application, right? And someone needs to do that translation. So first level of AI deployment is going to be about structuring and building the foundations of structuring the data. The second level is going to be about building the preventive and predictive and forecasting models on top of that data. So these things are going to happen. The supply chain issues cannot be resolved easily, but it's very difficult for a human to manage and identify all of the bottlenecks in a supply chain. And that's where machines are going to automate that process and help you do scenario planning, figure out what the best decisions are in updating your supply chain and so on. So those are the two different ways in which AI will get applied, in my view.